What's up, GRITR Texas? I am so excited for this Q&A today because today we have a special guest, Amanda Hardin, on, and she is going to be talking to us about her brand Lipstick Tactical today and sharing with us all of her insights. And Amanda, take it away. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, Lipstick Tactical is how you'll find me online. I DBA as Lipstick Tactical. My company is actually called Avenir Consulting, and Lipstick Tactical came about in 2011 when I was setting my company up, and I was asking friends, I was like, what should I name my company? And one of my guy friends looked at me and was almost like, why would you even be asking? He's like, you always are completely dressed up and have on lipstick and you carry a gun. It's Lipstick Tactical. And it was just like, that was it. That's it. I've been Lipstick Tactical ever since.
Very, very fitting.
Yeah.
So from just learning a little bit about you from your website, and you have a lot of blog posts and a lot of information out there online, but how did you take your journey from an RN and a real estate agent that led to Lipstick Tactical and then also your Avenir Consulting? How did all of those pieces fit together?
It's a bit of a byproduct of kind of just the deck of cards you get handed in life and how you play them out. So I was very, very young when I started my family. I was 18 years old when I had my son. Who knows who they are when they're 18, right? I had no idea what I wanted to be when I grow up. And I put that in quotes because I'm certain I don't think we ever fully know what a grown-up is. But I'm 18 years old. I have a baby. I have not finished college. Really didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. I was offered a full academic scholarship to go to nursing school. And I thought, I really don't know what I'm doing or where I'm going. And let's go down this path. I was in my first semester of nursing school and I was like, I don't think I picked the right thing, but I didn't know what I wanted to do. And like I said, I had a full academic scholarship. So I was like, let's get the degree, let's move forward. And so I went into nursing knowing it was not my passion. And I had this opportunity through family to get into real estate. You know, a family member worked in real estate. And they said, while you're kind of trying to figure out what your passion in life is, pretty low barrier of entry to get into real estate. It's generally a license. You don't have to have a college degree to become a real estate agent. So I thought, let's see. So I got my real estate license and turned out I loved it. I just absolutely loved it.
Take up on it.
Yeah, right away. Closed my first deal pretty quickly. It was during a time when the market was, going well. And it was like, oh, this is fun. I like this. So I went in just full time into real estate. And I did have a moment where I brought nursing back into my life. Again, kind of that deck of cards life deals you. I got divorced. Right. I had 2 children by then. I'm still very young. My children are very young. Real estate market crashes, right? Perfect storm. And I said, I'm glad I've got a nursing license. Like, let's dust that sucker off. And, you do what you have to do to provide for your family and to keep the lights on. So nursing has come back into my life a couple times. That was the second time after I originally quit. And now, fast forward, my children are grown, they're gone, they're self-sufficient adults, and Lipstick Tactical has always been there. I've always trained, I've always done concealed carry lessons. It would never went away, but I never really could give it the attention it needed because it was like, real estate's working, I'm paying the bills, the kids are healthy, they're happy, they're getting what they need. But on the side, I was always talking to women, doing concealed carry lessons. But I enjoyed it, but I was like, I could never pay my mortgage as far as I could tell on just doing a concealed carry class here and there, a private lesson. So as my children flew the coop, I always knew that there was something that I was very passionate about with Lipstick Tactical. So this was 2022. I was like, now it's time I can really start thinking about how does Lipstick Tactical, Avenir Consulting, become the company. And it's not because I dislike real estate. It's just I'm like, I'm quite passionate about this as well, and I'm ready to take a risk, if you will. So it's been quite a few years in the making, and I've finally come to the point where this company makes me grown-up money. I can work full-time in it, and I do now. And so now I brought my RN into my company, Lipstick Tactical. So very long answer, but it's so many pieces that went into it.
Yes, and then that's the really, really cool part. And what I found so interesting when I first started learning about you and I found your page is that you blend all of these skill sets so very well and you make it work for you. And I think that's what's so unique about your approach and which I love. And tell me a little bit about, how did you originally first get into shooting?
Sure. I got into shooting. It was a little. Well, I got into shooting when I was 29. I try something new every year, and I had never shot a gun. And I was like, well, that'll be my new experience for my 29th year of life. And I learned how to shoot a gun, and it was really fun. And I bought a gun, but I also had very young children at the time. And it immediately became this conversation with myself. How do I have a gun in the house and be safe with children? And so I just went on this personal journey of that. And then I realized I was extremely good at shooting.
I love it.
It led to the opportunity to be on Top Shot, which came on History Channel, was a reality television show. And then that brought just tremendous attention to what I was doing, because I'm very relatable in the sense that I was, Top Shot really liked to hang on to the RN title. They didn't want to put the real estate in it. I think a little bit of it was it fit a nice mold. Single Southern mom nurse. And it's fine. And because I was living in Alabama at the time, where I'm from.
I see.
And but it brought a lot of women looked at me, and it was that almost kind of sizing you up. They're like, well, if you can do it, I can do it.
I can only imagine.
Yeah, but it made women more comfortable, because it's like they're just like, oh, you're just like some nurse, single mom chick that learned how to shoot a gun, and you wear lipstick and high heels. Like, I can do it too. And it's like, yes, you can.
Yes, 100%. And you know what? And a lot of times there is sometimes that sense of competition between women, right? And I'm sure on Top Shot you got a lot of that, right? But most of the time, man, and I'll speak for myself, it's super encouraging as a young woman to see somebody who's doing it and who's successful at it and who's just leading the path like you are. It is one of those things that I think, especially if you're new to the sport, if you're new to the space, it's something that you really need to see. You need to see that representation. And I think you do a really good job at filling that space. But continuing on you being on Top Shot, you've also been a nationally sponsored shooter. How did that experience influence, along with Top Shot, how did that experience influence your approach to training and safety education?
Sure. And that was a brief part of it. It came right after Top Shot when there was a lot of attention on what I was doing. Again, had the 2 young kids. The sponsorship was more the product, paying for my travel, paying for the matches. And it was fun. It lasted very briefly because I was like, okay, I still have to actually get these children raised. And but it did make me realize, first and foremost, you can achieve anything you decide. You can make anything happen. So me as a human being and as a woman in this world, it gave me tremendous confidence. And then to be able to go out and encourage other women. They're like, nothing is unattainable. Absolutely nothing. And then I was not trained as an instructor until after Top Shot. I was not teaching. Okay. But it was when women started coming to me and it was if you're doing it, I want to do it, but I want you to train me. After I got asked that a few times, I thought, well, I should become a certified instructor. So I started with, people tend to start with their NRA certification. I started with that. And started teaching. Like I said, it was just more hobby because women wanted to learn from me. And I'd kind of had that revelation of, yes, you can do whatever you want, and I want to empower other women. So it was a little like the career found me. It was never, I never shot a gun and said, this is awesome. Like, I'm going to make a career out of it. I was just like, this is cool. Like, I really like this. So yeah, I bought the firearm, and then everything else happened afterwards.
I love that. And you know what? That just goes to show how needed you are in the space, how needed women like you are in the space, because there's just not enough. There's just not enough. There's, I mean, so often when I first started on this path, it was like, well, where are the women? You know, I felt like every room I went into was filled with men, and it almost felt like, you know, this is our space and there's no room for you. And so whenever you find somebody that's great at it and who's kind of leading that forefront, I can only imagine that women are really going to just flock to you and want to know what you know. So
it was good. And it was early too. Like, you know, this happened in 2011 before we were all like really connected on the internet. You know. So, you know, then that was nice, because it was like, we didn't find each other as easily. I feel like it's a lot easier for us to find each other and encourage each other and band together. But definitely, it was when it was very unusual for women to be in the industry and for women to even own guns.
Yes. 100%. You know, and I still think there is a little bit of that, you know, sure. In the industry and in the space. It's just, it's almost like a golden egg, you know, out of all the other, you know, eggs in the bunch. But it's either way, massively impressive and very needed in the space. And then what I really want to touch on is your firearm informed therapy initiative. I mean, how pioneering is that? I don't think I've encountered anybody yet who is running that kind of initiative. How is blending clinical insights with firearms training help reshape the conversations? That is what I am almost entirely doing 100% now with my company, because I just as a citizen have been very politically involved for quite some time around when I was in real estate full time, it was property rights. Then when I realized that, you know, I was going full time into lipstick tactical, I live in Colorado. Our gun rights are really getting stripped away fast. And I thought, well, you know, I better start paying even more attention than I do on our rights around the Second Amendment here. So everything I'm very, very, very politically active here, but it's all just as a citizen activist. There's no fiscal, nothing, no money I gain from it. But what I started noticing was, okay, politically it's this like fight over the Second Amendment, but also as a clinician, the people that are encouraging the legislation and convinced that if we just make guns disappear that will solve gun violence problems, they don't even own guns. They've never been around guns. They don't know how to talk about guns. They have very emotionally charged reactions around guns. So it was really me stepping back and saying, there's a huge problem, and what we're doing to solve it is not solving anything. And I spent like literally 2 years trying to like drill down to what the root of the problem was. And in my opinion, it's education. It is saying clinicians overwhelmingly are anti-firearm, and they do not know how to talk to firearm owners. And they overwhelmingly say things that are extremely anti-firearm. And then they need to understand and own how their biases towards firearms and firearm ownerships are causing worse outcomes around firearm violence. Absolutely. And then it was like, oh, well, doctors are doing the same things. Because if you go to a primary care provider, anything, it is on that admission paperwork. Do you have guns in the house?
And it's like, and then I've had people that work in the firearm industry. They're like, oh, I got a new primary care provider and I went to my first meeting. This is literally, somebody told me this. I told him I work in the firearms industry and he looked at me and said, there's no form of firearm ownership that is safe or responsible. He's like, so I don't have a primary care provider anymore. Huh. Yeah, but like, so what if this guy had been going to his doctor because he was having like, not a mental health crisis, but what if he had just wanted to be like, hey, like I'm in a rough patch with my wife and I'm really kind of bummed out about it. And then you've got this doctor that immediately, like, our clinicians are just like jumping to think like, oh, you had a bad day at work and you own a gun. This is horrific. Like, and so it's like, there's just such a lack of education around what a fire owner is. How does that work in with your mental health? How do these biases prevent firearm owners from even seeking primary care, medical care? We're not even talking about mental health. So I came up with this class called Firearm Informed Therapy because I was like, I'm going to go teach all the mental health clinicians and all the doctors and all the nurses how to have competent conversations that do not polarize and do not ostracize firearm owners. Because if they're not seeking medical care, they're sure as hell not going to seek mental health services, you know?
100%. And, you know, just hearing you speak on it, it brings up that topic of it's so black and white.
Yes.
How they try to make it, but really it's so gray, you know? It's the gray space that nobody wants to talk about, but it's either this or is this. And it's like, well, can we talk, at least start the conversation about what that gray space is? And you know, we need more people who are really pushing that conversation out there. And along the lines of, you know, these biases that you hear, what are some myths that you come face to face with often in your education, and how do you break down those myths?
Myths as far as like the clinicians, from the clinician side?
Either side. It could be about firearms training in general, but I would love to hear about the clinician side as well.
I was like, there's myths everywhere. If we want to talk about myths with women and their guns, you know, it's like, yeah, it's gosh, I mean, you know that there's so many things that just came to mind. You know, obviously with the clinicians is that, you know, you can't have any kind of mental health problems and safely have a gun in the house. With things around the firearm community that I'm starting to see more and more. And I believe it's because, again, our connectivity online can be really great and it can be really, really awful. But I've noticed that some people don't even want to get into the firearm community because, I mean, there's even like pages dedicated to like, if you didn't buy an expensive enough gun and put an expensive enough accessories on it, it's almost like that gym thing, like, bro, do you even really lift?
Oh my gosh, I know exactly what you're talking about.
And it's like, that's such a turnoff. Like, there's like this like elitism within the firearm community.
Oh my gosh.
Like, bro, like, do you, and then like all these, I'm like, whatever. I'm not trying to like make anyone feel awful or ostracized, but it's like, the way you are behaving is making this person not even want to take a step in because they're like, gosh, I don't have $4,000 to spend on a gun and immediately put a dot on it and buy the biggest, fanciest holster. So a lot of judgment. Like, I carry my firearm in a holster that most people would tell you doesn't really fit the definition of a true holster. And they're like, I can't believe you carry that way. And I'm like, I've been carrying this way for 5 years. It's never been a problem. Like, you know, so I think a lot of people that are trying to get into firearms go online because they don't really maybe they don't have a trusted person. And then they start seeing this and they get overwhelmed, or they think, well, this just isn't for me because I can't do X, Y, Z. Or maybe they do go and get advice from, you know, their grandpa, and their grandpa is, little lady, you're going to have to get a J-frame because you're never going to be able to rack that slide. And so they immediately come to you and they're like, I cannot rack a slide. And I'm like, has anyone ever taught you how to rack a slide? Whenever a woman comes to me and tells me that they either come to me with their revolver or they come to me and they tell me about their revolver I'm going to buy, I look at them and I've gotten and I said, Was it a white gentleman over the age of 60 that told you needed a revolver? And they'll kind of look at me and then they'll like smile and they're like, yeah? And I'm like, yeah, okay, let's have a conversation. Like, yeah, like no hate on you guys. But it's always an older white guy over the age of 60 that told some woman, you can only handle a revolver. And I understand the argument between why a revolver, the jamming and like, I get the actual functionality argument between why a revolver may or may not be better in a self-defense situation than a semi-automatic. But just to just tell a woman she needs a revolver because she's a woman, it's like, let me tell you the pros and cons and you go make your decision.
Yeah. There's so much of that, and that's a big thing that I encountered when I first started in the space as well, is I didn't really know where to go. I didn't really know where to look. There was a lot of opinions online. There was a lot of people who were the tactical gurus.
Yeah, sure.
And they had all this gear. They had all this stuff. And I was like, well, shoot, I don't have like $5,000 to just drop on all this equipment and training. Where do I start? Where do I even start? And like you said, I think that's a huge turnoff for the beginner, and especially women. When there's just that overflow of options, I think especially for women, it becomes very disorienting, and we kind of don't know where to go unless we have somebody trusted who has been in the space for a while, who's been doing it, who's been teaching. And they're like, hey, all right, let me show you where to go. Let me take your hand and let's start to open these conversations face to face a little bit different. And man, I agree wholeheartedly, because I can't tell you how many times I encountered that myself.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, 100%. And then on the other end, on the other spectrum, speaking of kind of these myths and breaking down these big generalizations in the industry, what is one common mistake women make when learning firearms or self-defense skills, and how do you help them shift that?
One of the biggest mistakes I see women making are buying a gun before they've ever shot a gun. That to me is that I equate that to like, would you just buy a car and never test drive it? Because you can read all you want online, which is good to do, and come up with some ideas of what you might want. But people don't understand usually when they're new to firearms, and you people that own firearms forever, that you're like, did you know the grip angle is actually different between different brands of guns? Mm-hmm. And then the grip itself, if you put two guns next to each other, you can see that, some of the grips are very flat on the back. Some of the grips come out a lot. And people don't understand how deeply that's going to impact your experience and your ability to shoot that gun. So I would say that's the number one thing. I always cringe a little when someone comes at me with a gun and they're like, teach me how to shoot this gun. And I'm like, cool. Like, how much have you shot? Like, I've never shot it before. And it's like, oh gosh, I hope we like this gun. Because if it doesn't fit, like when you naturally bring your firearm up and how your hand is shaped, it's gonna matter the shape of that grip, the grip angle. So it's like, gosh, let's put a gun in your hand that's gonna set you up for success. That when you naturally come up with it, you're pretty close on target. Let's not get a gun in your hand that fits your hand so poorly that it's gonna naturally have just a horrific point of aim. So now you're having to compensate for the crappy gun. And it's not that it's a crappy gun, it's a crappy gun for you. And then we have to let's not start you down here and then try and get you here. Let's start you here with your gun. And then you're going to just have such a better experience. And you're going to commit to your training.
This is 100% true. And I think something I had to learn really early on was how this space is so individualized, right? Like you were saying, maybe one person likes one firearm and it doesn't work for me, right? It's like, oh, that's your favorite gun, but when I try it, it's like it doesn't feel good in my hands, or, you know, I'm having a hard time with my draw with it, et cetera, et cetera. But it is so individualized, and you have to get that education, you have to get that training, you have to get that hands-on experience. I mean, try before you buy, guys. You know, there's a lot of different ranges that offer that. Here at GRITR, we offer that because it is important to know what you're investing in, because if you are looking to do this, whether it's for sport, whether it's for safety, you have to invest that time in that firearm, right? You can't just go on and, okay, oh, I didn't like this gun, so I'm gonna get another gun, and I'm gonna get it. It's like, okay, well, let's get something you can really get good at first, right? Get that education, get that practice, and get your reps in. And then that's kind of how you can evolve from there, because then you'll know what you like. Then you'll have a better idea, a better pulse on what works for you. So man, that was a really good one, and something that I had to learn very, very early on as well. So I love it. Now, talk to me a little bit about your concealed carry game. Now, you said you don't really use like a typical holster, so talk to me about what you prefer and something maybe you suggest for the ladies.
Sure. I personally carry a sticky holster. So it just goes in the little sleeve, right? It's soft. I generally wear it in a belly band, but I pull my belly band up more corset.
Gotcha.
And people, I'm sure you can see where all the arguments immediately come from, you know, like, oh, you just have it in there and it's going to flip out and there's nothing holding it. Oh, and it's soft-sided. And when I ride my motorcycle, I have a certain brand of pants I wear because the waist comes up very high, and it has just enough tension that the sticky holster, I carry 4 o'clock on my bike. I don't carry 4 o'clock normally, and I'm not a huge fan of 4 o'clock. I think there's some real vulnerabilities to that. On the bike, 4 o'clock works for me the best.
I see.
And I have ridden literally tens of thousands of miles in a 4 o'clock hold in a sticky holster in this brand of pants. It's never even shifted. A long story how I ended up like literally I was walking and tripped. Quite a comical story, honestly. But anyway, the point is, I went down hard on my back while I was carrying 4 o'clock, because it was after I'd gotten off my bike. And as I was literally just splaying out to the ground, I was like, well, here's our moment of truth. Hopped up, sucker had not even changed positions in my pants. Like, it was right there. So, and then carrying, like, I've just carried it enough that I have no problem, you know. So, but you can get online, you start searching holsters, and there's a whole lot of people that are going to be like, oh my God, I can't believe you as an instructor carry that way. And for the way I live my life, like I said, I've been carrying them for 5 years. I've never had an issue. So I encourage women or anyone to think, first and foremost, think about how you live your life and how you dress. Let's start there. I'm not, if I was I regularly do backflips every single day, then maybe I would question my holster. Things like that. So I think you have to give people the framework on even how to think about how to decide on what kind of holster to carry. So it's like, so what does a general day look like for you? Are you sitting down? Are you standing up? Are you running? And then how do you dress on a typical day? If you're like, I've never worn a belt in my life and I'm not about to start wearing a belt, cool. Then let's try and work around it. At some point, you might have to change how you dress a little bit to actually get that firearm concealed and have it safely on your body. Right. But overwhelmingly, I don't start with women, and I'm like, well, go get your cargo pants and your belt, and then let's have a conversation. You know, when they're in their skirt. I'm going to be working with a real estate agent next week. And she's like, I want to start carrying on body. And I said, cool. I said, our first lesson is going to be off range. And I want you to come dressed exactly how you dress for work. And I'm going to bring a whole big old bag of holsters and all kinds of things. And we're going to just start playing with how you dress. And then, maybe I make a suggestion to her that okay, so these silk blouses you like to wear, why don't you buy one with print on it? Because I mean, or some ruffles. So if you do end up printing a little bit, you've got that, so yeah. So I love talking to people about how to figure out how to start carrying.
I love it. You know what? Like you were saying, it is individualized, right?
Yeah.
I don't really think that, unless you're, again, this is a big no-no, but we don't just put our firearm loose in a purse, right?
Oh God, please don't.
That we don't do,
Please don't.
But there's so many correct and different ways to holster your gun and on body carry or off body carry, right? There's so many different variations that you can do. You just have to find the way that works for you and like you were saying, fits your body and fits your lifestyle. Sure. And I think that's a great piece of advice that oftentimes is, like we were saying, kind of gets run down the mill when you're first trying to get started in this space, for sure.
Yeah, and then just make sure you can access it, and maybe have a couple different ways you carry. But I discourage people from being like, oh, well, Monday it's on my ankle, Tuesday it's in here, like, because obviously we're going to go to muscle memory, right? So I have two different positions I will carry, and that's it. So, but yeah, you're right. Pick your positions. Make sure your clothes will actually clear it. Because I've had times where I've put on outfits and then I go to draw and I'm like, oh well, that shirt was a lot longer than I'm drawn to the point I draw it. It's still hanging over the gun. But yes, it is a really fun adventure to take someone on to learn how to carry and be able to access that firearm.
That's right. And train how you wear it, guys, to make sure you're getting those reps in with how you're wearing your firearm.
Yeah.
And my second to last question for you, what does empowerment truly mean to you? And beyond training and gear, why should other women, other people in the space, why should others chase it?
Empowerment to me means putting the things into your life, being it a skill, a tool, a connection, whatever it is, whatever you need in your life to live without fear. That is empowerment.
I love that. Very powerful and to the point.
Yeah.
And lastly, what's one quote or mantra you live by, or some words of wisdom you'd like to share?
Yeah, so I love that you're asking me that, because I actually have 2 Post-it notes on this mirror that's right by my door where I leave the house. And the first one is acta non verba, and that means actions, not words. You are your actions, and the way you carry yourself through life is everything. And return with honor. Those are the 2. Absolutely. I'm a fairly to the point person, and it's like, if you can act a non-verba and return with honor every day, man, you're doing things like you should in life. And that's going to inform every decision you make. How do I behave towards this other person? What decision do I make? What actions do I go out and actually do, rather than, what is this term? Small deeds done are better than great deeds planned. So yeah, those are, I have lived by those for years, and they've been on my mirror for very, very long time.
Oh, I love it. Powerful. And I love that you have that posted somewhere, because a lot of times it's like, we have these mantras, we have these sayings, but when you really live by it, like what you were saying, that's what really makes it powerful. So GRITR, thank you guys for watching and hanging out. And Amanda, thank you so much for dropping some truth bombs on us today and really giving us some good knowledge bits today. And guys, if you have not yet followed Amanda on social media, make sure you do it now. Amanda, can you drop us your different links and different applications?
Lipstick Tactical is all you need to remember. I'm very, very active on Facebook and Instagram. People kind of giggle. They're like, well, what's your TikTok and your Snap? And I'm like, I'm well into my 40s, honey. I'm not even gonna bother with those platforms. Like, I figured out Instagram and Facebook. Find me there. And then, of course, I have a website, lipsticktactical.com, that is, you can find a tremendous amount of information there. But I'd love for y'all to connect with me on socials. I love to just give out knowledge as much as possible.
And guys, she has so much knowledge to share. Again, if you haven't checked out her website, check it out as well. She has some great blog posts and just information on there, especially for my ladies. If you guys are looking for somebody who really knows the space and is pioneering in the space, check Amanda out. Amanda, it has been such a pleasure. Thank you so much for your time and your energy, and we would love to have you back on at some point.
Yeah, it's a fun conversation. Thank you.
Yes, 100%. And GRITR Texas, make sure to drop a like, comment below, and give us a subscription, and we'll see you in the next video.